Now when it comes to builds in Elden Ring, Arcane at the moment is probably the most common, and I don't think the developers are going to essentially nerf the effectiveness of Arcane builds. So what I think they will do is look at the most common weapons and just nerf those. So what I've done is put together a beefy Arcane build, and it does deal high damage. And to start this one off, welcome back to Elden Ring. If you are not currently subbed to the channel, make sure you do sub, turn notifications on. If you do enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated. And if you want to support me further as a creator, then check out the links in the description, and let's get into it. So if I do drink my flask, I'll show you the Gatefront enemies, but I will show you other groups as well. And then if I switch over and I proc Golden Vow, then I switch over. Like there's quite a few things you have to do to get all of the attack power buffed up. Then if I switch back to my main and I get seppuku on that as well, then what we do is we run around and we do jumping left bumper attacks. They're like more than likely going to one-tap every single enemy that we do face in this video. Bosses are going to be insane with this build as well, because the more you attack, so the more successive attacks you get in there, the more your attack power builds up and the more damage you deal. So there's a couple of enemies in Gatefront, nice and easy. If we come to Mohgwyn Palace and we don't even bother with seppuku, we are still going to deal a decent amount of damage, but it's also the speed of the attacks that really helps this build. So there we go, you'll see the more we attack, the stronger the attacks become. Okay, that's just a typical showcase on this channel. I get killed so many times whilst I'm trying to show things off. But we've had a look at the enemies at Mohgwyn Palace, and you've seen that without seppuku it's still quite strong, but seppuku does definitely buff that attack power up a lot. So again, if we drink our flask, if we proc Golden Vow, so we switch over to our standard twinblade, we proc seppuku, then we switch back, we proc seppuku again, and then we come down to this guy. We do a jumping left bumper, and that's nearly 3,000 damage. But every single thing in the area gets annihilated. And would you believe I got a lazuli glintstone sword? Big enemies as well, taken down incredibly easy with this build. Bosses are going to be fun to take down, because over time, the more successive attacks, you are going to deal more and more damage. So one last time before we get into the build, if we drink our flask, if we proc Golden Vow, if I don't forget to switch back to my weapon, there we go. Now I proc seppuku on this one, then I switch over and proc seppuku on that one. And then at the isolated merchant shack in Caelid, we come over to these enemies, we do a jumping left bumper attack. And in 2 attacks, they are dead, 4,700 damage. But the first one was like 2,700. So against a lot of different enemies in the game, this is crazy powerful. You would have seen there, 3,100. Now I'm going to be absolutely battered. What is going on? The amount of rat. Get out of my face. I can't believe I've taken more damage from rams than I have from actual enemies in this area. But let's come over here to this one. We'll take this one down. It was 3,100 with the last one. So there we go, a nice 3,000 damage. In the second attack, built up to 5,200. Honestly, these rams do my head in. They just get involved with everything. And then coming over to the final one, seppuku is no longer procced. But we jump up, do a left bumper attack, and we're still, because of the blood loss, dealing 2,500. So we've had a little showcase. The Seal and Golden Vow aren't mandatory, you don't need them. However, Golden Vow is going to boost both your attack and your defense. And what you are going to do is run the Twin Blade with seppuku in your offhand. Then you're going to run the Godskin Peeler in your main hand, and also put seppuku on that. So you'll need to get your hands on a Lost Ashes of War so that you can duplicate seppuku when you do get it. Your Arcane is only going to help these scale with seppuku. These mainly scale, it's a B for dex on the Godskin Peeler and a C for dex on the twinblade. So my dex is 37, but if you start hitting the soft cap, you get to like 50, 55, whatever it is for dexterity, and then build it up to 80, you are going to deal stupid amounts of damage with these. In terms of your armour, Lazuli Glintstone Crown, I've got that on purely just to build up my dexterity. You don't need to run this at all. For the chest piece, I highly recommend Raptor's Black Feathers. The reason I recommend it is because if you look at the second paragraph of the description for it, it strengthens your jump attacks. So it works similar to the Claw Talisman. You can stack this with the Claw Talisman for extra damage, but I prefer running other talismans. The arms and legs are completely optional, entirely up to you what you run. Then I run Radagon Soreseal. It's going to boost 4 of your stats, being Vigor, Endurance, Strength and Dexterity by +5 each, but it will increase the damage you take, and I believe it's by about 15%. For like any damage source in the game, you're going to take 15% extra damage. The reason we have this on is because if I press Y and I look at the attack power of my armaments, it's currently at 524. But if I switch over for Marika's Soreseal, they go down. So it's the strongest thing purely because of the dexterity boost. Then, this is tied to a quest. It's going to take you a long time to get your hands on. But the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia is going to greatly raise your attack power with successive attacks. That is why I said this is going to be so good in boss fights. Because the more attacks you deal, and with the jumping left bumper attack, you're getting like 2 attacks in straight away. And you'll see just how fast they are. So that's like a 6-hit combo. It's 3 hits, but you're hitting twice each time. So it's a combo of 6 separate hits. So with the successive attacks, you are going to deal even more power each time. Then I also run Lord of Blood's Exaltation. That's going to increase your attack power when there's blood loss in the area. So if we have a quick look, the attack power for the right armament is 524. If I proc seppuku, and then we go and have a look, it goes from 524 up to 608. So that is a very big increase to the amount of attack power you have, and that's purely based off Lord of Blood's Exaltation. If you can get the white mask, if you're arcane, your dexterity's high enough, and you haven't killed Mog too early, you've not been locked out of it, if you've got the white mask, it will stack with the Lord of Blood's Exaltation Talisman, so you'll deal even more damage. And then I run the Ritual Sword Talisman. It raises your attack power when your health is a maximum. Obviously, when you're using seppuku, this isn't going to work. So what you can do is, for an example, the Ritual Sword Talisman, the right armament attack power is 524. If I was to put on the heirloom that raises your dexterity by +5, it would take my right armament from 524 down to 491. So I'd lose a little bit of my attack power, but it's way more reliable. However, if you're against a boss, like I would use that for your general sort of exploration and your typical combat. So for an example, my health is nowhere near maximum. If I come and do 1 jump in left bumper, it's 2873. What you can do, like your typical enemies, are to probably run the heirloom over the Ritual Sword Talisman. And then what we'll do is we'll do everything again. So drink the flask, do Golden Vow, then proc seppuku on the offhand, then on the main hand proc it, and then if we do a Flask of Crimson Tears, go back to max health, goes up to 3000. So you do get a better attack power running Ritual Sword, but you need to be at max HP, so I'd only recommend it for the start of a fight. It's going to be hard, especially against the aggressive bosses in the game that switch out mid-fight, but that's the sort of risk you run when you are using the Ritual Sword. And then in the Flask of Wondrous Physick, the 2 that I'm running is the Green Burst Crystal Tier, because that's going to boost the stamina recovery speed, and it lasts for 3 minutes. It makes a pretty big impact, and you're going to need stamina because you're doing a lot of attacks in quick succession. But then I also run the Dexterity Not Crystal Tier, so it buffs up my Dexterity by another 10. So that was a look at a backup Arcane build in Elden Ring, just in case the Rivers of Blood does get nerfed. There's dual twin blades, just the standard twin blade and the Godskin Peeler, and then all the other stuff in the build that we mentioned, so the talismans, the armor, the flask, everything like that. And what we're going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments about Arcane builds, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed it.